Now, there's no question that David Culley at least had to come into the situation with Houston last year with some type of eyes wide open and understanding that he might not be a long-term guy there. But after all those years of being an assistant in the league, he wanted a shot at being an NFL head coach. So you took the opportunity that you could because there are only 32 of those jobs around. So when one of them comes open, you got to take it. I understand that. And I understand that for Texans fans, you might not have thought he was great. You probably had somebody else in mind. But I'm sorry. I'm still going to stand by this. David Culley got hosed. How many games was he supposed to win exactly last year? No Deshaun Watson. The roster stinks on both sides of the ball. How many damn games was he really supposed to win? I talked about it before the season. That if the Texans won 6 games, he should win Coach of the Year. Because they were that doo-doo. They won 4. I mean, yes, that's nothing to write home about. But everybody was presuming that the Texans were going to end up with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And they didn't even do that. He didn't even finish last in their division. I mean, how many games was he supposed to win? What were the expectations here? He got frickin' hosed. I don't care. And it's a shame. He deserved to have a second year, period. But with every bad outcome, there's the potential for a positive spin. And the positive spin is Lovie Smith lurked around and got himself a 3rd NFL head coaching job. And I love it! That's right. Lovie Smith gets a 3rd chance to be an NFL head coach. He got 9 years at Chicago. He got hosed in Tampa when he got undercut by his offensive coordinator in the organization and was only there for 2. Now he gets a 3rd go-round. Hopefully it's not a one-and-done situation for Lovie. But, if you're an organization that's going through a lot of turmoil, you're an organization that needs a steady hand, you're an organization that needs a firm kind of respectable leadership presence, Lovie Smith is going to give you that. Lovie Smith absolutely brings that to the table. He has his flaws, and I have questions about, is his defensive approach necessarily the best in this version of the NFL? But that said, the man can coach. He can get the best out of teams, and I've seen that happen throughout his years in Chicago. For Christ's sakes, this dude took a team with freaking Rex Grossman as his starting quarterback to the Super Bowl. He took a team with bum-ass smoking Jay Cutler to the NFC Championship. I'm just saying. So, you got a new head coach here with Lovie Smith. And thankfully for Texans fans, the Deshaun Watson saga is finally over, and you got a big bounty of draft picks in return. So at least you could turn the page and move on. And that's the best thing that could happen here. It's just weird how it all played out. A few years ago, you're thinking, hey, maybe someday get rid of Bob. Maybe the Texans can win a championship with Deshaun Watson leading the way, and now he's gone too. But that's the nature of the beast sometimes in the NFL. This is a busy offseason for the Texans, obviously, firing David Culley when he got screwed, hiring Lovie Smith, yay. They were pretty busy, signed a number of guys in free agency, Steven Nelson, A.J. Cann, Mario Addison, Reeves Maben, Rasheem Green, Okoronkwo. They had to go fill some of the many talent holes on this roster. And then went to work in the draft, took Derek Stingley Jr., the talented corner out of LSU, and then Kenyon Green, the offensive lineman from Texas A&M in round 1. Had other notable guys such as Jalen Petre, John Mechie, Christian Harris, Damon Pierce. Now, unfortunately for Mechie, who was one of their second-round picks, he's not going to play. I believe he was diagnosed with leukemia. I certainly want to send my best to him. That's really got to suck. You're on the precipice of realizing your NFL dream. Having the chance to, go out there and do what you always wanted to do. And then life gets in the way. And man, I tell you, ain't that the damn truth, right? It sucks. So we'll see how this draft class bears fruit for the Texans, and hopefully John Mechie is able to get through his leukemia treatment just fine. Looking at this team, this roster for 2022, what do I like about them? In terms of strengths, Lovie Smith. He's a firm hand. He's a guy that has a lot of experience as an NFL head coach. He's a leader of men. He knows how to control a locker room. He's a guy that knows how to get the most out of people. He will give him more time with the defense. He will be able to get more out of them. I really, really like Lovie Smith being the guy there in Houston. I really do. It may not work out in the long term, but in this moment, it was a really, really good hire for them based off of what they could have done. And then I look at some of the other talent on the team. I'll look at Brandon Cooks. Like, this was a guy quietly in a less than ideal situation that had over 1,000 yards receiving. He's not a superstar, but for them, he's a pretty solid number one wide receiver. They still have Laramie Tunsil at left tackle. So there are pockets of good to great talent. I put Tunsil more in the good talent than the great talent piece. But still, a lot of holes here. Some of my concerns about this team, it involves the running game on both sides of the ball. They were really bad against the run last year. How much is Lovie going to be able to improve his unit from what his unit was last year on the defensive side of the ball against the run in 2022? And then I look at their own running game. Like, you're talking about Pierce, a fourth-round pick. How much of a bell cow back is he really going to be? I don't know about all that. We will see. And then Davis Mills. Like, it's interesting with Davis Mills. So here's a guy they took in the third round out of Stanford last year. They started the season with Tyrod Taylor. Then they eventually went to Davis Mills. He was given an opportunity, and he had some really rough patches, and he had a couple of moments, a couple of games that were really, really good. So if you see Davis Mills make some steps and progress and grow some as a quarterback, and maybe even establish that he could be the long-term starter for the Houston Texans, then the trajectory of this organization changes pretty quickly. If he plays more like a third-round pick and he plays like he's not quite ready for prime time, he plays like he's not ready for the show, then the Texans might be firing Lovie Smith at the end of the year and picking first in the 2023 NFL Draft. Looking ahead to the schedule, what are some of the key marquee games for the Houston Texans? First one for me, obviously, is Week 3 traveling to Chicago to take on the Bears. Lovie Smith comes back to Soldier Field. Oh, baby, that's going to be one for sure. Week 5, they go to Jacksonville to take on the Jags, so it's a chance to take on a divisional opponent. You want to try and win that game. Week 8, they host the Tennessee Titans. There's the team that was at the top of the division last year. You want to be able to take a shot at them. You want to be able to potentially beat them again. And then you got to obviously look at Week 13. Like, the NFL knew exactly what the hell they were doing. Yeah, well, suspend Deshaun Watson for exactly 11 games. And then, that means that he will come back in Week 13. And who's the opponent? Oh, what did you know? It's the Houston Texans in Houston. That's going to feel like the Super Bowl for the Texans. They're going to want to beat the brakes off the Browns. So that'll be captivating television. In terms of this Texas team, I expect them to be improved a little bit. I don't think they got markedly better in the offseason. I think they made a solid hire at head coach. But there's certainly some differentiation between them and the Jags, let's say, and the Titans and the Colts in this division. So I think if the Texans win 6 games, that's progress. And while not what you want to do, at least you'd be making a step in the right direction.